Well, now that we've created the subsystem, we can change the way it looks, and we can also parameterize the subsystem if we wanted to reuse it multiple times in our model. Right-click on the subsystem and bring up the Mask Parameters dialog box. Masking the subsystem allows you to change the way it looks. For example, using MATLAB commands, here you might load images or plot data. I'm going to use the plot function to plot the peaks function in MATLAB. I hit apply. You can see that the icon has changed to the plot of the peaks function. You can also parameterize the subsystem. The sample times can be parameterized. So let's say I wanted to parameterize sample time 1 and sample time 2. By parameterizing these two variables here, what I've done is created these variables in the local workspace. This is separate from the MATLAB workspace. So if I reuse the subsystem, when I bring up the parameters dialog box for the subsystem, I can set these sample times TS1 and TS2, and these sample times will be unique for each instance of the subsystem. I can also specify initialization commands that can be executed before the block is initialized. I can also add some documentation to the block. For example, I can also give it a description. And I can also give it a help. And what I'm going to do here is link to a pre-existing HTML file. Say OK. So if you double click on the subsystem now, instead of showing you the details of the subsystem, all you see is what we typed in the documentation tab and a custom dialog box with the parameterized values for sample time 1 and sample time 2. So let me say I'm going to use a different sample time from that in the MATLAB workspace. Now let's simulate this model and look at the output. As you can see, it's using the sample times defined in the mask and not the sample times defined in the MATLAB workspace. So if I change this again, also if I double click on this subsystem and click on help, this brings up the HTML file that I defined in the MATLAB help browser. So I can use this as a way to document my subsystem so that any user of the subsystem can better understand what it's doing.